Hello, and welcome back to the Retro Gaming Collective. My name is Aaron, and today I'd like to talk to you about Star Wars action figures. I know that's a little bit different than my normal content, but it's something that I'm equally passionate about. So obviously by now you know that I have a pretty sizable game collection, and a game room to house all my games in. But a game room to me is a little bit more than just the games, it's about the atmosphere. So part of what I use for my atmosphere in this game room, as you can tell a little bit behind me, different types of memorabilia. Most of it is Star Wars, whether it's signatures, posters, stand-ups, or even action figures. So I was thinking about making this video, and I wanted to show you, and I'm going to show some of that stuff off in the future as well. But what I wanted to start with was actually my action figure collection. So I have a pretty large collection of them as well. So I picked out some of what I consider to be the best of what I have, and some of the things that I think are the coolest. So let's dive right in. I got a whole pile here. I'll show you that later in the video. I don't want to start off with that, but that's the coolest part. So let's start here. Now, if any of you remember, I believe it was back in 2003 or 2004, there was a Clone Wars series, which is not the series that came out, I believe it was like 2007-ish. This was a cartoon series. It lasted 2 seasons, and I remember it as a kid on Cartoon Network, and I really liked it. So I happened to be walking through the store, the Second and Charles. I've actually mentioned them before previously in my videos. If you have one in your area, definitely check it out, because you will see pretty awesome nerdy things like this. So these are actually part of a series. There were 8 of them. You get General Grievous, Anakin, the Clone Trooper, ARC Trooper, Dirge, Asajj Ventress, Mace Windu, and ObiWan Kenobi. What I have here is probably the 2 that I want the most. This is ObiWan Kenobi, and then I also have Anakin right here. I always thought these were really cool, and as soon as I saw them in the store, I absolutely had to get them. So I'll give you a little bit of a close-up. There is ObiWan Kenobi, and there is Anakin. So if you haven't seen that series, you can probably find it on YouTube somewhere, but they do have some DVDs, and I bought mine on Amazon. They should still be out there. I don't think they're too expensive. Next, let's move on. This is, if any of you remember Shadows of the Empire for the N64, this is actually Dash Rendar. Now this is one I'm really happy to have as a part of my collection. One of my favorite Star Wars games of all time was actually Shadows of the Empire, and this is an action figure that I always wanted as a kid, but I never had. So when I did see this one, it's one that I absolutely had to pick up. Now it does have a little damage. The holographic piece here is kind of hanging off a bit, but that's not a deal breaker for me. It is one of the first pieces you see when you walk into the game room, because it's such a big part of my childhood. So there he is, a little bit more close up if you can see. Alright, so let's move along. Now this isn't really like an action figure, but it is made by Funko. I think this is really cool. This is a zombie Stormtrooper bobblehead. There we go, get it right in the screen. My dad actually got me this as a kid, or not as a kid. I was a full adult when he bought me this. But you can see it's pretty awesome. Now there are some other zombies in the series. You can get a zombie Yoda, a zombie Chewie, and a zombie Vader. Now the reason that I really like this, and I think it's a really cool piece for my collection, is I'm a big fan of Joe Schreiber's books. And this is an example here, Death Troopers. And as you can see, it's about zombies. I love zombies, I love Star Wars, so it's a combination of 2 things that I really enjoy. If you have not read this book, I definitely recommend it. He also wrote another called Red Harvest, I believe. I listened to the audiobook, and I did also read the paperback. Definitely recommend it if you like zombies and Star Wars. Let's move along. Now, the next piece I have is part of a larger piece, and I only have half of it. But this is from The Power of the Force. This is the Obi-Wan kind of play set. So the other half, which would go over on this side, would be the second half of the hangar in A New Hope with Vader. I only have Obi-Wan at the moment, but I think this is really cool. So if you can see on the back here, it kind of shows you what the play set should look like, and it actually moves, and it's got the glowing lightsaber and everything. I think this is awesome. I was really glad to get this for my collection as well. Alright, so let's move along. Now, this is actually one. So when I was a kid, I didn't really play so much with the action figures as much as I played with the micro machines, like little ships. And this was one that I most certainly had to get because it's one that I had as a kid. This is actually the Shuttle. I believe it's the Shuttle Tidarium, but it comes with the little Alpha series, kind of like the prototype vehicle. So if you look, you see you got the shuttle down the bottom and the prototype right there. Now as a kid I did have this, like I said. I also had the Imperial Walker came with these as well. I think there were a couple of others. Yeah, there was the Walker and the Snowspeeder and an X-Wing. But I only had the Walker growing up and this one. But they're really cool too. I loved playing with those ships. I thought they were awesome. Which is probably where my love for games like Rogue Squadron and where that came from. So I got a couple more things here and I want to decide what I want to show you next. So I'll start by saying this. I'm a massive Disney World fan as well. And obviously if you go to Disney World, there are a lot of things about Star Wars there, especially as of late. And if you remember, if you're a Disney person like me, a couple of years ago they had some weekends called Star Wars weekends, which no longer exist. And I'm very upset about that. But at one of the last Star Wars weekends, I actually got this little guy, this real feel Salacious Crumb, at one of the, I think it was Darth Maul in Florida. So if you look, it's pretty on point. He's got his little pillow here, and there are actually only 1,983 of these made. Do you get it? Yeah. So I'm really happy to have this, and I've seen them on eBay. I just look up just because, like I said, I have it. I look it up on eBay to see what they're going for, and this little guy actually goes for a pretty penny nowadays. Not that I'm gonna sell him. Had to keep him. So I got two more pieces left. So I'll show you this one. I also got this in Disney World. This is probably one of the coolest pieces that I have in the entire game room, not just Star Wars. But when you go to Disney World, they can take 3D scans of your face and turn you into a little action figure. Now this is me as a Stormtrooper. I was much less bearded. I'm trying to get it to focus. Come on. It's not focusing, but I can assure you this is me. And this cost like $100 and you had to wait a couple of weeks. But it was completely worth it. I am so happy I have this. I think it's really, really cool. So final piece, and this is probably this is one of the first groups of action figures that I got for my game room, and definitely one of the coolest. And this is the one I was actually saving for last. So this is a bit of a display case here. It's kind of hard to see, but these are the original action figures from Star Wars back in 1977. So these were the very first toys that came out, and I absolutely had to kind of piece together this set for myself. So back when these came out, parents could order them ahead of time for Christmas, but you had to pay. And basically, when they came out for Christmas, the parents just could give their kids a little piece of paper that shows the toys and says they're forthcoming. So I thought that was pretty interesting, but I'm very, very happy to have this as a part of my collection as well. I'm trying not to shine this in your eyes. But yeah, so those are some of the Star Wars toys that I have. And if you'd like to see more content like this, let me know. If you have any questions about this stuff, if you have any questions about my video games or anything else, leave a comment, like the video, subscribe, send me a message if you have any questions. Like I said, you can also follow me on Instagram at the Retro Gaming Collective, where I'll post some pretty interesting pictures of some of the other things that you don't necessarily get to see in these videos. But again, I definitely thank you for watching the video, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.